Hello friends, welcome back to another session of Core Java tutorials. So today we'll be seeing enhanced for. So enhanced for is also called as for each style of writing. So this enhanced for is introduced in JDK 5.0, giving another variation or another version for the existing or the traditional for. So what is the purpose of this enhanced for? The purpose of this is to cycle through collection of objects like arrays and collections. So it will be cycling through the objects of objects like arrays are objects in Java. So it will be cycling through the elements of the arrays in the strictly sequential fashion. In the sense, it will be starting from the starting element only, it will start cycling. Okay, so you cannot start traversing the elements from the end of the list. So this is very important point to remember. And the next one is there is no keyword like for each. In C hash, what you have a keyword called for each for this particular loop, but in Java you don't have something like this. That's the reason why we don't call it as for each. We just tell that it is a for each kind of styling, but we just tell that this is enhanced for. Why? Because there is no new keyword introduced. And the second thing is like the existing for also has not been modified. So because of that reason we call this as enhanced for. We'll see the general form of how to use the enhanced for. So we'll be using it like this. So I say for, see, I have not used any keywords over here. The syntax has changed a bit inside the for. So what happened here, we are saying type and iterating variable, colon, collection, and then inside this we are writing the statement block. Now as you can see here that this type and the collection type should match. Okay, and the collection name is given over here, and each and every element will be taken one by one into the local variable, which is iterating variable. Okay, if there is element, then only this statement block will execute. When the elements are over, then this block will quit. So you needn't write the increment and decrement operations and checking of the condition and all that. So this is a very simple alternative for accessing the elements in the array and collection. Okay, let us take a look at the flow chart. So first thing is it checks whether this all happens internally. So it checks whether any elements are there in the collection. If it is false, there are no elements in the array, then it goes to the immediate next statement after for each. Else it goes to the next, if it is true, there are elements in the array, then it goes to initialize the local variable to the first element. So the first element is taken into the local variable, that is what I told iterative variable. So it takes into it, and then the statement block is executed. And after the statement block is executed, then again it checks whether there are still more elements to be accessed. If there are still more elements to be accessed, then the next element in the array will be initialized to the local variable, that is iterating variable. If there are no elements, then what happens? It goes to the immediately next statement after the for each. Let us take a look at some programs using for each. Let us compare traditional for with for each while accessing the elements of an array. So you can observe that for each style is more simpler compared to the traditional for. Because what are the difficulties that you face in the traditional for is because you need to be very careful with the initialization and the starting and the ending indexes. If you give it more than the specified range of an array, then you will get an exception which is array out of bounds. Okay, so this is the most common exception that occurs, array out of bounds. Okay, so this is the most common exception that will arise, and so we are avoiding such kind of exceptions in the for each, and you need to be very careful. And you are also having an iteration over here, so when you compare it, you needn't bother about the initialization and the condition and the increment and decrement. So this is very handy for iterating arrays. Okay, so and collections. So what exactly we are trying to do in this program is to print the elements of an array one by one in the output. Okay, so for that we are starting with the 0 index, and we are traversing it till the maximum of the array, which you can get it from num.length. Okay, so num.length will return the number of elements in the array. So the number of elements are 5. Okay, so it will give you 5 over here. And we are trying to print the values inside the array through the index number. So num0 will print 1, num1 will print 2, and then 3, 4 and 5. So after that I plus plus will become 5. 5 is less than 5 is false, so the loop will break and go to the immediate next statement after the for. So this is how we execute or print the numbers of an array one by one. Okay, so now we'll see that same procedure in the for each. Okay, so in for each, what happens is you will be assigning the array to the iterating variable x. What happens here is, in this procedure, what happens is each and every element, like one by one, the element from num will be assigned to x. You needn't worry about that, it happens internally. And as I said, this happens strictly in the sequential fashion from the start to the beginning. So there is no way to assign 5 and then go to 4 and all that. No, it starts with 1. So 1 is assigned to x. Okay, so after 1 is assigned to x, we are trying to print x over here, and after that again it goes over here, checks whether there are any more elements left in the array. So there are still more elements, so 2 will be assigned to x and 2 will be printed on the screen, and again it goes back and checks internally, this happens, and checks whether there are still more elements left in the array. So there is one more element, so 3 is printed, 4 is printed, 5 is printed, and again it goes, after printing 5, it again goes back and checks whether there are elements in the array. So there are no elements. So what happens is the loop breaks and it goes to the immediate next statement after for. This is how the for executes, for each style executes. And since there is only one statement after this for loop, we haven't put it in the block. See, for example, I want to find out the sum of the elements in the array. So I have two statements. I want to print the element as well as I want to sum it. So in that cases, I'll say int sum is equal to 0. So I have assigned sum is equal to 0, and what I'll do is I'll say sum plus is equal to x. Okay, so which is equivalent to sum is equal to sum plus x. Okay, so I have written it using the compound assignment. So this is, it looks like this. Okay, so this is similar to this. Okay, since there are two statements to be executed after this, I'll be putting it in the block. Okay, and finally I'll say system.out.println and I'll be printing sum. Once I print sum, what happens? The sum will be printed. Okay, so if you're having more than one statement after for, you'll be putting it in you can simply write it without putting it in a block, but if you are having more than one statement after this for, you have to put it in the block. Okay, so this is how the for each works. Let's take a look at this particular program. So we already know that for each style iterates the array from the lowest index to the highest index, and the loop will be executed till the elements of the array are exhausted. So you can also have a procedure of terminating the loop early till it is not complete. Okay, so that procedure is by using the break. I have used break on its condition, so you can also put it. So this break will actually make the loop to terminate early by when a particular condition is met. So we are saying to terminate the loop will execute for 5 times because there are 5 elements. The loop will execute for 5 times. But I am asking it to terminate if the element is equal to 3. Okay, so if it finds an element is equal to 3 in the loop, then it terminates early, else it will loop till the maximum elements in the array. So this is a program, so just you can make it out. So what happens in the for each, you needn't bother about the initialization of the lowest index and condition and incrementing and all that. You needn't do that, it happens internally. Okay, so num keeps giving each and every element to x. Okay, starting from the lowest index element. So first it gives 1, then the block of statements execute, again checks for whether there are more elements in the array, again assigns the element if there are more elements, then again the block executes, and this happens. So that's why it's called as a loop. Okay, so we are taking in the element, so it prints 1 over here on the screen because that's the first element, and then we are summing it. So sum will be having 0 plus 1, which is 1, and then the condition checks 1 is equal to 3 is false. So what happens? There is no break. It goes for the next iteration. So for the next iteration, what happens? The element retrieved into x is equal to 2. Then what happens? Then the sum happens. Sum is equal to 3. Now it again checks for the condition. Okay, so 2 is equal to 3 is false. So what happens? It goes for the next iteration. In the next iteration, again num will pick the next element, which is 3. So now what is x? X is equal to 3. So sum is equal to 3 plus 3, which is equal to 6. And then the condition is checked, which is 3 is equal to 3. So this is true. As soon as 3 is equal to 3 is encountered, which is true, what happens is it executes a statement in the if block. So what is there here? It is a break. What is the purpose of the break? Break will terminate the loop, okay, and goes to the immediate next statement after the loop. So it comes out and goes to this particular statement. So what is there in this statement? I'm asking it to print the sum. Okay, what is sum? Sum is equal to 6. So what we did over here is, actually it has to execute for 5 times, but we are actually terminating the loop early based on a condition. Okay, right. So this is how you can break the loop early. You can also use this break with your other loops like while, do while, and for also. I just wanted to discuss one point that most commonly people make is this. Okay, so here x is not the index number. Okay, x is the number. Okay, so please do not mistake it to be the index number. So when num is assigned to x, it means that we are assigning this value to x. Okay, so it's not the index value. So don't try to access it like this. Num of x is not correct. Okay, so x itself is the number that we are talking about. It's not the index number. Okay, so this is a common mistake generally students make. And another thing is, another mistake that students think of is that when you say x is equal to x plus 10, don't think that it is the index number. Okay, so x is equal to x plus 10. Actually, okay, if x value is 1, okay, so 1 plus 10 is equal to 11. If you're having a system.out.println statement here and try to print x, it will be 11. But when the loop goes to the next iteration, what happens is, again reassignment of x takes place. Okay, so num will give the second element in the array. So num will hold 2. It will not be 11. So this 11 will have no effect on this particular assignment. So please do take care in these particular aspects. Okay, well friends, let us take a look at this particular program wherein we are trying to access a 2-dimensional array. So this is how we have initialized the 2-dimensional array. Now we'll see how to put it in the for each. Okay, so how the outer loop works? The outer loop works like this. So initially what it does is, so this is the array that we have initialized. So this is considered to be, the first row is considered to be 1-dimensional array, and the second row again is considered to be another 1-dimensional array. So what it does is, for each and every iteration of the outer loop, it will read the first row. First row is 1-dimensional array, so it will read this first row. So what happened in x, what happens, x will be given to this particular 1-dimensional array. So x will be having 1, 2 and 3, and x will become the 1-dimensional array now. So in the same procedure like what I have said you in the previous case, like how to access the elements of the 1-dimensional array, in the same way we will be accessing. So the inner loop will access the elements inside the 1-dimensional array. So x will be giving the elements one by one. Okay, so in the sequential order. So first 1 will be given to y. So y is printed on the screen, so the output is 1 is printed on the screen, and then what happens, we are saying sum is equal to sum plus y. So sum is equal to 0, we have taken it as 0, 0 plus 1 is equal to 1, so sum will be equal to 1 at this particular point. Then what happens, it goes for the next iteration where x will give the next element, which is 2. So 2 is taken, so it iterates. Okay, so finally what happens, sum will be holding the value of 1 plus 2, which is 3, 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. So again what happens, the inner loop will break. So once the inner loop is broken, what happens, it goes to the outer loop. Now outer loop will take the next dimension. Okay, so this dimension, this second row will be given to x now. So what will be holding, what will be there in the x now? X will be holding this particular dimension. So x will be having 4, 5 and 6. Now again the inner loop will be accessing the elements of the x. So what will be y now in y? So y will be holding 4. Now 4 plus 6 will become 10. So it keeps on incrementing like this, and finally it will print the result for you on the screen. Okay, so this is how it works. After the inner loop is broken, again it goes to the outer loop, but there is no dimension left out over here. So that's the reason the outer loop breaks and comes to the immediate next statement after for. Okay, just take a look at this particular program wherein I tried to iterate through a 3-dimensional array. So wherein here I have initialized a 3-dimensional array. Okay, so this is 2 okay, so the dimension is 2, 2 and 3. Okay, so I'll show you how to iterate this dimension, this 3-dimension using for each. Now coming here, I'm having 3 for loops. Okay, so the outer for loop will be taking the 2-dimension. Okay, so then this 2-dimension is, from the 2-dimension, the 1-dimension is extracted, and from the 1-dimension, the elements are extracted. So this is the procedure of doing it. Okay, so what happens in the outermost loop? From the outermost loop, from the 3 dimensions, we are extracting the 2 dimension, and from the 2 dimension we are extracting the 1 dimension, and from 1 dimension we are extracting the elements and printing it on the screen. So I'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, minus 1, 2 and 0 on the output screen. So this is how you access a 3-dimensional array using a for each. So if you just can compare it with the traditional for, you can make it out that this is quite easy to write. The applications of for each are into searching an unsorted array. Say that you want to perform a linear search. So this is best suitable because enhanced for is used for accessing or traversing the elements of an array in a strictly sequential order. So from the lowest index to the highest index. So searching an unsorted array, meaning that a linear search on an unsorted array will become very easy for you because it will be traversing the elements in sequential order. And the next one is for computing the average. For computing the average, obviously you need to take each and every element of an array. So for finding the min and maximum elements, again you need to search each and every element of an array. And for looking for duplicates in an array or collection, so these are some of the applications of for each. So whenever you have such kind of modules inside your program, so the better choice to make is go for enhanced for. So that's it, friends. This is all about enhanced for. Hope this video is helpful to you. Please watch my upcoming Core Java tutorial. Stay home. Happy learning. Bye.